Awesome. So we're recording tonight since we have several people who are missing. But we will let Peter Henry kick it off.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie, and thank you to everybody. I'm up in the Chicago area, so glad that Stephanie's doing this class by Zoom. And my job is really easy. It's to, number one, say thank you for being willing to be a new member host family. And among the things that I most want you to hear is while your role is important, I don't want you to think it's all up to you either. I realize sometimes when we give a speech about the Ministry of Hospitality and Welcome and Inclusion, it can make it sound like if you, the host family, doesn't do a good job, this might not work. But the reality is you're part of the equation, but there's also a new family and there's also the Holy Spirit at work. And so I want you to know that while we're going to talk about the importance of your role with our new members, I don't want you to feel like it's pressure. Hopefully, at the end of the day, it's simply invitation and affirmation for you to be folks who welcome and interpret. Because when I think about the role of a host family in the life of a church, a significant amount of what you're doing is inviting people and interpreting people into the life of the church. So we're about, at the end of last year, we were about 1,460 members. So that doesn't include the 200 or so children on our rolls who aren't yet members. We are among the top 5%, 1% of PCUSA congregations in the United States. We're in the top 10% of communities of faith in the United States. We're not a mega church, but we're not a small church either. The average worshiping States has about 165 members. So we're not a small church. And when you come into the life of a big church, and you come into some of these settings, it feels like everybody else knows and is known, and everybody else understands. And you need people who are willing to invite you into the life of the church. I haven't seen statistics in a while, but once upon a time, for every 6 weeks that someone did not become part of something outside of worship, you cut in half the likelihood that they would remain active members of the church. Becoming part of something outside of worship is really important to feeling like you're part of a community of faith. I've said it in front in the pulpit, and it's true, and I'm giving away my age. But in the 1980s, that great sitcom Cheers, the theme song where everybody knows your name, maybe you don't need everybody to know your name, but it's good for somebody to know your name. And the way that people learn your name is you become part of a women's circle, a men's group, a Sunday school class, a knitting crew, fill in the blank. And so that's part of your role, is hopefully to find places to invite your new member family to go a little bit deeper beyond worship. And then the other thing is to interpret, because Presbyterians are not alone in having jargon and insider language. And I'll just give you an example, and I'm not picking on them, but we just put PW Circle 6 is meeting. What is PW Circle 6? It's Presbyterian Women's Circle 6. Okay, women, Presbyterian, I get it. What's a circle? What does a circle do? Oh, and okay, so Circle 6, it's a women's group that connects. Some circles are more Bible study oriented, some are more fellowship oriented, but that's an easy example of how just saying, have you ever thought about a PW circle means nothing to someone who's not a part of the PW circle, and the list goes on. I remember I had a church member, a new member, ask me, hey, I see some of these men's groups. Which ones are open? And the truth is, they're all open to new members. There are very few things in the life of our church that can't just integrate new members on a rolling basis. But people don't know that if they haven't been invited, and they don't know that if we're not interpreting that kind of thing out to them. So when I think about the role of a new member host family, it's to be inviting and it's to be an interpreter to people. And, of course, we've got to figure out what people are comfortable with and what they're looking to do. And like most relationships in life, you're going to kind of cue off them. Some new members are, in some cases, more insiders than perhaps some of our host families. I remember a guy who worshiped with us every Sunday up in Michigan. When he finally joined the church, I said, Mike, what took so long? And he said, well, I didn't want to be asked to be on a committee, so I just never joined. But the reality is he knew about all the groups, he was everything. And so some new member families are already well integrated, and that's great. But not all new member families are. Some have just moved to the area recently, or some have only for the first time become part of a church. So anyway, you'll kind of take your cues from your new member family as to how much invitation they need and how much interpretation. The good news is Stephanie provides a kind of an outline of what, and almost a timeline of what it might look like to help someone become part of the life of DCPC. In addition to what Stephanie has put down, and I'm going to invite her to talk about that document. The other thing I invite people to think about is kind of the answer to one of two questions. One question might be, what helped me feel like I was becoming part of Davidson College Presbyterian Church? Or what helped me feel like I was becoming part of an institution, organization, a group of people where I felt like I belonged? Whatever helped you, do that. All right, we want people to go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I was connected to this place. But sometimes the opposite question is true. What do you wish somebody had done for you when you became part of DCPC or when you became part of a group? Do that, whatever it is that you wish someone had done for you. I think if you do those things, you'll probably be doing the perfect role as a new member host family. Stephanie, I think this is about the part where you normally share that description. I know you already emailed it, but
Yes.
you often throw it into the chat for folks. And why don't you walk us through it, and then you and I can field questions from people.
Gotcha. So this is a document you all, I'm sure, have received. If you haven't, let me know, but I think you have. So as Peter said, this is a basic timeline of your 6-month commitment. And we say 6 months just to have a parameter on it of some sort, but there's no prediction of how this is going to go. You may only relate to them for 6 months, or you may become friends, and this is somebody you have in your life forever. So there's no hard and fast rule of how this goes. So I'm not going to read through the specific, week 1 through month 6, but I am going to point out the 2 really important gathering opportunities that you have to be with your new member in person. And the first one is this Sunday at church, and it's at 8:45 in the congregation house. And we'll gather at 8:45 with coffee and tea and breakfast foods. And we hope that you'll come at that time so that you can get into the space and meet up with your new member and try to sit together in the big circle. Because what we want you to be a part of is the first hour of that class, which is nothing but an introductory period. And that's actually my favorite part of every class, because you get to hear, there's a script that tells you exactly what we need you to say. And part of it is, how did you get to DCPC? What was your faith journey to get to this church? And just hearing the stories that everybody has to share in that circle is just one of the best hours of my life, 3 or 4 times a year. So that is important, that at least one member of your family is there to help sit with your new member and be a part of that experience. The other one we have coming up is called a new member host family gathering. And that is on Sunday, November 17th at 3 o'clock, also in the congregation house. And that is just a very short time, just 1 hour of fellowship and fun icebreakers and games, and a short program by Robert Alexander. If he's in one of his moods, he'll have his guitar and he'll bust out a song for us. But that's always a really good time. And that's just two dates kind of back to back where you can actually get together with your new family in person. But you can also invite them to sit with you in worship, or go out to lunch after worship, or have them over to your house if that's the kind of thing you like to do. It's really kind of up to you as to how you play it. But at least you got those 2 dates that are kind of back to back where you can get started. So any questions about that part? Nope. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. So
Yeah.
what the only kind of other remarks I have, I a little tongue in cheek, used to say to this group, you want to figure out how to be aware of your new member family without being a stalker. And then someone said, maybe instead of telling us not to be stalkers, you can just say, try and be good neighbors. So that's the thing to remember instead. Don't be a stalker part, get rid of, be a good neighbor to a new member is a better way to phrase it and think about it. So what kind of questions or observations from people for Stephanie or for me?
I assume the new member class on Sunday continues after our 1 hour with them at 8:45.
Yes, they actually go to 10:45 with a Presbyterianism 101 that Peter's going to do. And then they have a little session with Robert called Marks of Membership, where they talk about kind of what's in the Book of Order about church membership and what does it mean. And then they actually have a session meeting where they officially join the church in that session meeting as part of the class. And then they all come to worship together, and they're going to be introduced to the congregation at the end of that service. So it's a
Gotcha.
big full day for them,
Yes,
or a full half a day at least.
definitely. Thank you. Good
Yeah.
deal.
So Nancy, you've done this before. Do you have any pointers? You're muted though. Ah. She might not be able to get off mute. That's okay. Any other questions from anybody? Do any of you know your new member family already? No.
No.
Well, that's fun. That's exciting. Yeah, we try to match new members and host families based on something, some sort of demographic, whether it's geography or the age of your children and what classes that they're in. So we try to actually do that, but oftentimes we find, and this is where I feel like the Holy Spirit is definitely involved, they have deeper connections than we ever could have imagined once they really get to know each other and start talking. And I just love it when they share that with us, because we put these people together and we had no idea how wonderful it was going to be. So I hope that happens for you guys too.
Hey, Stephanie, can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Great. I'm glad I'm back. You know, one thing that I had a question about, and I really enjoyed the gal that I hosted about maybe 3 years ago, but she was asking specifics about Presbyterian women's groups, and she didn't know which one to join. And I said, I don't, I'm in this number, I'm in, 7, but I didn't have any specifics on all of the other numbers to share with her. Do we have anything written up that says this one does Bible studies or this one's focuses fellowship? So I could maybe at least point this new gal in that direction?
It's actually funny that you're mentioning that, because Mariette and I have been talking about the fact that we need to redo the PW booklet, but they have had a handbook in the past that would give all the leaders and their contact information and kind of what their group is studying for the year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's in the works.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, there are certain people that from PW, the coordinating team and the leadership, that can reach out to the new members and try to help them plug in. So if
Mm-hmm.
they check that box on the sharing your gifts in ministry form, which I know you've all seen.
Right.
I used to sick Charlotte Griffith after them, and now I think it's Pam Holthauser. But they will reach out. That's a great question, though.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
And would you recommend that if they're interested in Shalom, that we go with them the first time to Shalom, or, maybe Wednesday Bible study?
Sure, if that
Okay.
works out. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really
And
nice.
Nancy, that's a great observation. Getting them connected they may get connected to something that you're not a part of. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that you have to suddenly become a member of Shalom, but it may be that you facilitate a handoff to Marjorie Burris and crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, folks, the people, your new member families, they may ask questions that you don't know the answer to. And like anything else in life, it's okay to say, I don't know. but I think I know who might be able to help you. And, you know, and that might be Stephanie, that might be Robert, that might be Peter, or it might be, you know, you calling the church office or sending us a quick email or text and
Sure.
saying, just need to know who's in charge of the tutoring. I can't find it on the website. So it's okay if you don't know the answer.
Mhm.
Someone on staff will be happy to get it to you.
Great. Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you. Let's see. Mm,
Anything else from anybody? Well, the one thing I want to say, and then I'll let Stephanie have any final words. When I think about the role of being a new member host family, you know, especially in this day and age, when people step forward to be a part of a church, I mean, maybe once upon a time you felt like you had to join a church, and then and to be a good member of the community, to satisfy your mom back at home, whatever. But in this day and age, lots of good
Mhm.
people aren't members of churches, right? People have, when they're becoming a member, they're expressing an interest in being part of our community of faith. And this is the best time to connect them to things beyond worship. And, you know, if you feel like you haven't seen them or haven't gotten them connected, you know, reaching out to check on them isn't like a big brother bad thing. Because one of the things that does happen, I mean, this is the old knock on big churches. Big churches have big back doors. We do this great job of saying, we're so glad you're here. And then nobody seems to notice when they're not there anymore. And, you know, if you stop showing up and nobody says we miss you, well, then maybe I wasn't really a part of it anyway.
Mhm.
And so, think of, you know, reaching out to your new member family, you know, whenever you reach out to them, is again, it's not checking on them, it's continuing that sense of invitation so that they know that they're a part of the life of the church and that we want them to feel like they belong here. So just a word of encouragement about what those check-ins might mean. And the other word of encouragement, this is my experience, I think it's probably for all of us. You know, I almost never get anybody the first time I call them. I always end up leaving a voicemail and then they call me back, but everybody kind of screens these days. And so just know that that'll be a part of the pattern is it may take a moment or two to connect beyond the new member gathering this Sunday, but be persistent.
Yeah, that's a
Right.
great point.
Yeah.
Even with new members who have been visiting for a long time and keep checking the box wish to join, I have to email them, call them, and text them to try to get them to actually continue with the process. And even though they've checked the box 5 times already, but they won't call me back. So yeah,
Mhm.
persistence is key, but it does work.
Well, anything else?
Peter, we promise not to screen your phone calls. All of them.
Yeah. Brandy, you know what happens is it shows up as a Detroit phone number, so they assume it's like a
Yes.
telemarketer.
Yeah, like
So-
spam. Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. I leave a message and like 10 seconds later, oh, we're so sorry. I'm like, it's all right. I've never done that.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yep, that's what happens with my text. I'll be like, I've sent you 3 emails, but hey, just checking in, and they'll text me right back. Like, yeah, I got all 3 emails, but thanks for texting.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah, you
thank
gotta,
you all again. Hopefully we
Mhm.
haven't intimidated you. Hopefully it feels like you're getting set up to do well. So thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
You guys.
All right, take care.
Here
We'll see you
comes Jenny
Sunday.
right at the end. Hi, Jenny.
Hey, Jenny.
I see Jenny. You're muted. So Jenny,
I'm sorry, guys. I just zoned out. I'm so sorry. I got home, had dinner with Sadie, and now I'm just like, oh
Hey, wait, Jenny, how old is Sadie?
no. She's almost 3 in January. She'll be 3.
Well, so you know what? You never have to apologize for zoning out when you have a 3-year-old. Are you kidding me?
exactly.
Life gets full.
I'm all in. So sorry.
No, we're just glad to see you. So we recorded this whole session, so I'll send you the whole session afterwards.
Okay, I'll listen to it right tonight.
But we'll see you Sunday, right?
Yes, you will. And
Okay,
and
perfect.
you confirm time.
It's 8:45 at the Congregation House.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will-
And come hungry because we have lots of food and coffee and all kinds of drinks.
Excellent. Okay.
Awesome. All right. Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.